Hey, everybody, welcome back to another amazing show. This is the Real Estate Uncensored Marketing Roundtable. We have a celebrity guest today, Mr. Dean Jackson. If you don't know who he is, God bless your soul. I don't know what rock you're under. It's got to be a fucking mountain. This guy is a legend in the industry. He runs his own podcast. I love marketing. Definitely go check it out. He is amazing. He will take out your pen and paper. Do it now. If you don't, I'm sorry. You are totally so sorry about that. Anyways, I'm going to bring in a couple of my co-hosts, Mr. Jake Wolf from Clever Leads with a K. What up, homie?
I am totally wearing my shades this whole show because these lights, for some reason, are killing me.
I wonder why that is. It's so weird.
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you, Greg McDaniel. I appreciate the intro as always, and I'm happy to go ahead and pick the brain of Mr. Dean Jackson. Before the show, we were talking about fax marketing and how nobody was
there you go.
in Dean's world with a fax machine. Back in the OG day.
That's going to be a fascinating conversation. First, we got to bring in the ever-shrinking man, Mr. Nick Sakis from Florida. We both, Dean and Nick, are from Florida. But Nick, welcome,
We're
brother.
neighbors. We're one alligator away from each other. We didn't even know, right?
That's great.
Doing fantastic, my friend. Another great Wednesday. Excited to meet Dean officially in person. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about today.
Amen.
Yeah. Dean Jackson, welcome to the stage, brother. I am super pumped. I honestly am a fanboy. I love the shit you put out there. Like every time you talk on Clubhouse and anything else, I've been looking up into a lot of your stuff you're reading and writing and putting out there. It is legendarily gold. I mean, it is awesome stuff. So, dude, welcome. Tell us about yourself.
Great. I can't wait to hear what I have to say. I love this roundtable format. Conversation is the key here.
Yeah.
So, I started in real estate. We were talking right before. I started in real estate in November of 1988. And that was, a different time. Things were a little different then. And if you guys remember, no internet, no computers really. All the information was sent out in catalogs. We got a new catalog every 2 weeks, and that's how people found out about information. So I started out doing cold calls. That was my way of getting listings, because right from the beginning, you get kind of pounded into you that the way to be successful or to last in this business is to get listings. So, I went on, trying to figure out that's the thing I'm going to do. And I would make 100 cold calls a day. And I was good at it. Back then, when I first started, for about the first week until I got a push button phone at home, it was still rotary stuff, And so that was that's a real thing for making those calls. Now, you've got the call links that just keep the calls lined up, the dialers called up for you. It's so easy to be a cold caller now. But regardless of whether it's easy or not, it was soul crushing, and it's a hamster wheel. That was what I really found out, that, making all the cold calls, it worked to get in touch with people, but it was, as soon as you stop, it stops. And so I started thinking, how can I use some of my money now to, really leverage myself? And I went down a path of personal promotion, and I started, getting my name out there, and I got the front page of the real estate section, and, was doing postcards and inserts in the news. So spending all this money, and I was getting famous. People were recognizing me at the grocery store and all that stuff, but it wasn't increasing my business as much as the extra cost that I was putting into it. And then I discovered direct response marketing. And when I discovered a direct response, that's when my whole life changed. That's when I figured out that you could put words on a postcard or in an ad and have people call you. That was it. Game over. I still remember the first time that I had a post, because I'd done postcards that were personal promotion, and you'd send out the postcards and they were clever, not with a K clever, but they were clever.
Oh, hell yes, it was, Dean.
Yeah,
Keep going. I love where you're going with this.
Right.
Keep going, Dino.
And I would put them out there, and nobody would call, and then I sent out these postcards to apartment complexes offering a book that we had in our worked with Royal LePage, which was a big company, had a booklet for first-time home buyers, offering them a book on how to buy their first home. So I sent these postcards, and then I came back to the office, a week later, and I was driving into the office. I hadn't thought about anything, but I come in, and Joanne, the receptionist, is waving something over her head. And I get up, and she hands me this counter at the counter, this like stack of these business reply cards. There's no internet back then, so no like go to the website to reply. I had literally a business reply card, like you just fill it out and drop it back in the mail. And I got 11 responses that day.
Whoa.
And and I remember, I still get that giddy feeling every time I think about it, because that was the last day that I ever made a cold call. And because I knew I had discovered a secret now. I had discovered something. I went in, and instead of making my cold calls, I called those 11 people, and I spoke with 6 of them, and 6 of the 11 were friendly. They knew why I was calling. They remembered asking for the book. They were thinking about buying a house. And I would have to cold call all week to find people that friendly, And so I just looked at it now as total leverage, that I had a volume knob for my business, that I could, cycle leads as many as I needed or wanted. And that set me on the path to, really falling in love with marketing. That's why, we've got this I Love Marketing podcast now that we started in 2011. But I grew my love for direct response by applying it to my real estate business. And I read at the same time, there was a book that came out by Michael Gerber called The E-Myth. And it was about the franchise prototype model of thinking about your business as if it's the prototype for 5,000 more just like it. And so I started applying all of my direct response knowledge that I was learning to my business in Halton Hills. I was just outside of Toronto. And I created a system that then I licensed to 40 other realtors all around Toronto. I did the thing that I used to grow my business was I created a guide to Halton Hills real estate prices, because people would be, they work in the city, they'd want to live a little bit further out. And Halton Hills was one of those places. So, but there was no way for people to get information about what's the prices are, or what you get in Halton Hills. So I created a guide to Halton Hills real estate prices, and I would advertise that in the Toronto real estate magazines, and people would either call my recorded message or fill out the coupon, in the ad to fax it or mail it to me to get the guide, and I would send it to them. And then every 2 weeks, when the new MLS catalog came out, we would take all of the new listings, put them on a Market Watch letterhead, and send people every 2 weeks a newsletter that updated all of the new homes that had come on the market. So I had a whole system for it. And I did a guide called Toronto and Beyond. And it was 40 great places to live within an hour of the city. And I licensed that system to 40 different agents in each of those cities. So they could run the system in their business. And then we would run the overall ads, and I would refer business to those 40 agents. And that was such a, that sort of then started taking off. And then I met Joe Stump, And Joe Stumpf and I teamed up and built by referral only for the next 15 years. Together, we built that into, one of the biggest coaching companies in North America. All on, this starting with this seed and this love of marketing. Marketing has taken me everywhere that I could imagine to go.
Dude, that is awesome. The funny thing is that my father started back in the business back in the 70s, and the same thing, like you weren't in the business until you had your second or third, binder of what's going to be on the market, right? Mm-hmm. It was a different world. Nick and Jake, given the fact that neither of any of us have the experience that Dean has, I mean, what are some of the things that you kind of picked up from that conversation? Either one of you guys, feel free and go first.
I feel like, Jake, this is your wheelhouse, buddy. Your direct response mania.
Yeah, no, so I've been in the game for a long ass time, just like old Dino. And that E-Myth book from Mike Gerber, he's got to be in his mid 80s right now. He wrote a bunch of books like the E-Myth Manager and E-Myth Attorney and a whole bunch of different things. Yeah. So yeah, he was a cool dude. It's funny, Dino, back in the old school days before marketing even went in came out, there was this one time I came into a Coldwell Banker office and there was these two real estate agents and they were screaming and yelling at each other. And it was all over. That's my phone time. This is my hour block to answer the phone. This is my damn phone time. So yeah, things have changed quite a bit. I used to do some advertising back in the day for some insurance companies the same way you just did, with sending out postcards and having like Medicare Part A, Part B type subscriptions. We used to go ahead and get cards back all the time. It used to work great. Yeah. Used to work great. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now the great thing is, now everything evolves, right? Everything evolves. You still get, you do whatever is in the moment, but the as much as things have changed, in that 32 years now, 33 years that I've been going, the fundamental things are still the fundamental things. I mean, you still have to generate leads. You still have to get appointments. You still have to turn those appointments into contracts, and you still have to turn those contracts into closings. And hopefully you turn those into referrals. That's it. That's what the whole, business
customer journey
is about.
Customer journey, my friend.
That's it. And so when you realize that what's the best way to reach that objective, the methods that we have available to us are going to constantly change,
So when it comes to constantly changing and lead conversion and stuff like that, so we've talked a little bit about kind of the old days when how it used to be done with postcards, and postcards are not defunct. They still definitely have a place. I'm not going to disagree.
We mail out postcards every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if we're going to put a little bit new, younger Gen X, Gen Y blood into this whole conversation, love to kind of see what your thoughts on that, Dean. And I want to go up to Nick after that, and then back to Jake. But how would we modify? Because I get there's this gal on Facebook, and she always posts this stupid ass ad. It drives me friggin' nuts because she's always like, well, door knocking and cold calls worked if it was the 1970s. I'm like, bitch, I'm going to slap the shit out of you. Mm-hmm. No, that's not. Everything still has its place, but let's put a new modern spin on it. Dean, where would you go with a modern spin on, taking leads and then, getting them into a contract?
Well, first of all, the cutting edge, like if you're thinking about what you have available to, now is everybody's got a digital footprint. I mean, you can certainly now find anybody. You can identify people who have certain attributes, that they have a certain type of house, or they've got a certain amount of equity in their house, or they're a certain age, or you can definitely target your marketing much better now than you could all those years ago. So you've got the opportunity to start out like that. You've got the opportunity to start out identifying who it is that you want to attract. One of the great things is using, I like to think about categories as opposed to just looking for specific people. So there was a beer company, Molson Canadian. They would run ads. They would run ads in Cosmo magazine, women's magazines, with a picture of the dream guy that women would, these girls would put on their dorm room walls, kind of thing. They had the sweater and the puppies in a field, and the long hair looked like a tall blonde Swedish guy, but dark skin, and just handsome man. And they would just run that ad, and then on all the words said were his location, the balance between masculinity and sensitivity, his beer, Molson Canadian. And they just had the logo there, right? So they would run that in women's magazines only so that they could run ads in men's magazines that said hundreds of thousands of women pre-programmed for your convenience. And show the ad that they were running in Cosmo. And they would say, while you're reading this ad, hundreds of thousands of women are seeing an ad scientifically designed to increase the attraction they feel for men who drink Molson. We win advertising technology, and all you have to do to activate it is order a Molson. And they show an illustration of the guy with the beer and her brain being like lit up because she sees that he's drinking Molson and attributing it to him. And so the modern version of that, the way that we do that, is we'll run ads that are big hero shot of the best ideal version of, if somebody wants an oceanfront condo in South Beach, what are they really looking for? They want to sit up in their thing and look out over that view of the ocean. So you put an amazing view of there, and we'll run an ad that says, if you're looking for an amazing oceanfront condo in South Beach, read this. And then we talk about the guide to South Beach condos. So now, 30 years later, this same concept is still the thing that we use as the go-to because people want that information. But while we're doing that, we're gathering all of these people that are looking for oceanfront condos in South Beach. Now, at the same time, we're mailing postcards to the people who own all the condos in South Beach, offering them the report on South Beach condo prices, looking to find the sellers of these condos, future sellers. So we're doing that same kind of thing, but it's the most amazing opportunity that we have to be a market maker without having to have listings. You don't have to have a oceanfront listing to run an ad looking for people who are looking for oceanfront listings. And that's a big breakthrough,
Absolutely. Nick, you've been oddly quiet. Give me your opinion on some of this stuff.
Wait a second. I got one real. Dean, like a true professional beer drinker, my friend. Just saying.
That's good.
I like what just the overall message from Dean, and I think that one thing you can take away from this, and I think we talk about this all the time too, is that when people typically think about marketing, and when guys like us get together, right, and we really geek out about marketing, it's really marketing as a macro, I don't want to say manipulation, but there's a strategy. There's a big time strategy behind marketing. Mm-hmm. And so like what Dean's referring to, whether it's direct response in the 80s or Facebook ads last week, what's your overall strategy? What is the overall, and Jake talks about this all the time too, like your funnel, mm-hmm. And attracting those people, talking directly to those people. And one of the things that I see the most as far as real estate agents, like when I talk to them or when I start to run ads for them, it's always like, when they think about marketing, they think about just the ad. Like, well, this ad worked in Arizona, so why doesn't it work in St. Pete Beach? Well, it could be talking to a completely different person. Like you have to, I love how Dean extracted. We're working backwards the same way you work backwards from a business standpoint. Like, I want to make $1 million a year. I got to do this, this, and this. I want to attract this client. What is this client thinking about? That's what marketing is. What is this person thinking about? And how can you get that person to react to your marketing based on the fact that you're speaking directly to them? Because the best marketing in the world is when somebody sees your stuff and they're like, oh my God, you might as well put their first, last name and social security number, because it's exactly to that person.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's part where I get people to think about to go to that category level. And, categories, by that I mean oceanfront condos, oceanfront homes, lakefront homes, townhouses, golf course homes, whatever kind of category you can think of to describe something that people are looking for. It's just thinking about it en masse, thinking about it as a bulk thing as opposed to an individual.
I think one of the biggest things that I see is that people are afraid. Most agents are afraid to do like what Dean's talking about, because they want to be all things to all people.
Yeah.
And so especially so I'll give you an example, like here in Tampa, right? An agent that's licensed in Tampa can go all the way up to Orlando and sell properties in Disney. They can go all the way to Sarasota. We have a huge market where we're licensed to sell here. So somebody who says, hey, I want to be a beach realtor, or I'm upset that I don't get beach listings, but they also want to sell 5 acres in Odessa to someone who's got a farm. It doesn't work like that. You have to have segmented, especially if you're not going to spend that much money, right? We talk about
anything's possible.
The amount of money and the amount of time.
Yeah,
we live in this instant gratification society where I launched an ad last week and I didn't get 3 listings, so the shit didn't work. Right. And then they're always jumping from section to section. Then all of a sudden you look back 2 months, 3 months later, and you're just all over the board.
The great news is you've got the opportunity. You can have as many target audience as you want. I mean, I look at, you want to think like Procter and Gamble. Procter and Gamble has 23 individual billion-dollar brands, and they all are not running on the back of each other. They're all individually competing, even in categories that would seem like they're competing with each other. They've got 5 different billion-dollar laundry detergents, right? While the big box stores are just lumping everything in and saying, putting it in a box called laundry detergent. Tide realizes that there's a $1 billion plus market of people who just want to get their clothes as white as they possibly can, and they're going to use Tide. And there's an equally ravenous market of people who they just don't want to ruin their stuff, so they can throw it all and have it all come out okay. So they've got Cheer for all temperatures. Just put it in and you're okay. But if you want to get out tough stains, they've got Era. If you want it to smell great, they've got Sunlight. They go all the way to the viable market segments.
Absolutely. The psychographics of that, like Procter and Gamble, 65 individual brands organized into 10 different product categories, speaking specifically to the consumer of that product. And they zero down on it. Once again, it's the customer journey of the acquisition, moving into conversion. It's retention. So it's what I've been preaching for years, and I love Procter and Gamble's organization. They do it well. Yeah, and a lot of companies do it well. So, what I'm hearing here, guys, is so I have if you change the way that you look at this scenario for me, I kind of roll into everything that we're talking about right now is consumable content. Yeah. In addition, it's consumable advertising, speaking specifically to these folks. So before we had the ability to remarket, retarget, and go direct to consumer, you had to go ahead and put a lot of this stuff out there that was appealing, that was gaining somebody's attention. Online marketing has always been taking a product or a service, then distracting people who are the most prospective customer, and then telling them, hey, this is going to save you money. This is going to save you time. This is going to be more convenient. We've got a better customer service policy. All of these different triggers of what is your unique selling proposition. What I like to do and it's worked extremely well, is I go out, acquire an audience, and I bring them back to the house.
Mhm.
Once they're at my house, now they can go ahead and consume all of this wonderful content that I have strategically set up for them, whether it's new construction, first-time home buyer, second-time home buyer, whatever you expect during this process. Content is so damn important in real estate, and real estate is such a relational game that you have to just go ahead and give your best presentation, give these people stuff to consume that they would most likely be. So I love your ideas. I love that you delve into the old E-Myth and the Procter and Gamble categories.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole thing, I look at it that one of the things that's a little bit that I've nuanced over the years is that I'm really interested in separating the compelling from the convincing. And that's been a big difference. And what I mean by that is that what I see most people who are doing advertising, you probably see this too, Jake, is people are trying to convince somebody to list with them. So they're running ads. I call it like this first perspective, where you've got this spotlight and you're going to run money. You're going to spend money to get your name out there or get the word out there. So it's like you're taking the spotlight and you're shining it on you to highlight, hey, call Dean Jackson. I'm the best in South Beach. I sell more condos, or I sell more horse farms, or whatever it is. Choose me. And here's 10 reasons to choose me, or 10 reasons now's the time to sell your house. Trying to convince people to take some action. And what all I'm looking to do is realizing that we're looking for what I call invisible prospects. Somebody who's looking for a condo or a horse farm or whatever category. A buyer of anything is an invisible prospect. You don't know that they're looking for it. You can't find that. So how I compel them is I go all the way, instead of telling them about me and that they should choose me, I put my needs aside for now, and I realize that I'm going to be so much more valuable. It's going to be so much more valuable to me if I can compel all the people who are looking for a condo in South Beach to raise their hand, ask for my guide, my report, my directory of all of the South Beach condos, that I've now created this asset that nobody else has. I've turned invisible prospects into visible prospects.
Yeah, very, very important to go ahead and leverage tools like that inside of your marketing mechanisms, right? Yeah. And if you take a look at different marketing pillars, there's causal, there's informational, just like you're talking about. There's alliance type marketing and things that you can work with other people and joint venture and share customers and consumers. So yeah, I love it. So I'm real big into the unique selling proposition of not just perceived value, but true value. Yeah. So we're here at the Clever Nation. I'm on the road to having over 100 semis this year, and only the Clever agents can go ahead and offer free local and long distance moves all the way across the country at no additional cost in comparison. So when I come into your digital footprint with the Clever agents, we say everybody else is going to do nothing compared to what our Clever agents do because of this. Let's see if your home qualifies. Yeah, we're literally saving people anywhere from a $10,000 to $25,000 cost that they're going to have.
That's awesome.
So I'm always finding angles of unique selling propositions.
That's very good.
I went ahead and purchased a manufacturing company years ago out of Texas. There was two brothers. They went ahead and created the technology that stopped kiddos from texting if they were traveling more than 15 miles per hour. And they had a kind of a semi-successful nutraceutical business in the pet industry. And all in the Southwest, they had some of their products out there. They had a liquid bottling line for making liquid glucosamines and vitamins and minerals for the pets and stuff like that. Well, they wanted to go ahead and sell their company and invest that money into this technology. And now they're multi-millionaires because of it. But I came in with my team and went ahead and purchased their company. So I moved the whole manufacturing facility to one of my buddies in Norman, Oklahoma. The brand was terrible. on this product line. So I came in and we got into causal marketing, the BP oil spill. Remember when in the Gulf it was just pumping black oil into the Gulf? So it decimated the oil and gas industry back then. All of these people that had jobs in that industry were laid off. Nobody was making any money. People were hurting down in the Gulf communities. So much so that a lot of these animals, these pets, these people couldn't even afford to feed them. And they were sending them out onto the streets. The ASPCA and the animal shelters were picking these pets up in droves, and they were overrun. So I came down to the Greater New Orleans Foundation. I started a pet rescue fund. And then I went back online, started advertising to everybody in the pet community that if you purchase my products online, I'm going to go ahead and send 50% of the actual purchase to this Greater New Orleans Foundation, this pet rescue fund, and we're going to help all of these animals across the U.S. go find real homes. So we paid for the transportation. I sent my celebrity down. We sent out press releases to all of the different affiliates and had different videos and stuff. So I turned that product into just A+ immediately. And then I pitched Petco, and I got 4 SKUs into 1,145 stores across the U.S.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but it was all about brand and putting that the right perception and utilizing the psychographics of the moment. And then, Dino, I went ahead and went to my number one competitor and I said, "Hey, you guys want to purchase me?"
That sounds like a good plan. And they said, "We probably should."
Oh yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. But it's so important, right? In different industries, when you think about real estate, you end up coming into the same kind of touch points that other people do in marketing in different industries. You know, you talk about Olson and you talk about Procter and Gamble, and people know how to go ahead. And we are getting pushed all the time by different products and services. So you have to go ahead and take some time, focus, and see what works well that influences you, and how you can go ahead and turn around and do that for your business.
So let's talk about that a little bit when it comes to the influences and everything else. Nick, Dean, Jake, what are some of the bigger influences that we're seeing right now? And by the way, Jake, Robert's asking for the website of the pet company. But what are the influences that you see that you've seen in the past, and what do you see coming in the future? Any of you guys are, and whoever wants to take that one, let's jump on that really quickly, because I think it's a huge thing. Like Clubhouse is a big thing. I've been with Dean on several rooms. I'm pushing a lot of other people's in there. That's a place of influence. But what other influences or influencers or anything else you guys are seeing that people can latch onto and kind of take advantage of right now and do some marketing and get some business?
So for me, this is not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. This is just a shit ton of moving parts all put together as one, working as one. And it's about taking the actionable steps necessary in your business. So you really have to, if you're not going to do this for yourself, you have to find somebody who knows what they're doing first and foremost. It's really about the customer journey online. So Dino's been doing marketing for a long time, just like myself. We came through a time frame of, oh my God, what is this thing called the internet? And then people are like, oh, maybe I need to have one of those things called a website on the line. And so we had a moment in the last 20 years of all of the small businesses. Now they needed an online presence because that's where the consumers were. And then everybody had to figure out how to go ahead and do advertising online properly. And then social media went ahead and changed things. So there is a lot of moving parts to go ahead and do it properly, but it really comes down to the basics. It's about who you are, your website that you own and control, your brand, what you're going to put out to your consumer. And then it's about exposing that in all of these different places that are socially engaging and utilize advertising to do it and point people back. You have to stick to the basics. That's the core foundational cornerstones of your business on the line. And you just have to take action. And if you can't, and that's what most real estate agents struggle with, is they get their license. And then all of a sudden they have this epiphany of, oh my gosh, now I have to become an advanced marketer and advertiser. And how in the hell do I do this? And then they struggle for years in doing a little bit of this over here, a little bit of that. Do I need this thing called Facebook? Do I need this Instagram? What do I need to do? And then all of a sudden, if something works, they hang on it. And most people struggle and they have a tough time. And unfortunately, we have got a 80% plus fallout rate in the real estate industry. So, but
Yeah, that's actually a fascinating, thoughts. Dean, I know you're about ready to say something. So give me your thoughts on this too, and then I want to go to Nick and get your thoughts.
Yeah, things are changing. I mean, the thing that's the biggest change is the ability to collaborate. We can literally get every component of the real estate business you can is available for you to mix and match whatever your unique ability is, whatever you want to do. Like, people are going to fall into one or two categories. If they just want to be a real estate agent and work with people who are looking to buy a home, work with people who are selling their home, negotiate contracts, all of that. There's the opportunity for you literally to build a collaboration machine behind you to generate the leads, to convert the leads, to bring the people, right to the point where now they're ready to go. And you just meet with people who are ready to buy or ready to sell, and you get the listing, get the contract, get the listing, and have everything else, every other component of marketing a home or even showing homes, all of the stuff that could possibly be done by other people can be done by other people. As soon as you get a contract, you negotiate. That's what most people love about the business is they just want to negotiate contracts. They just want to convince people to get the listing. Those are the dopamine hits of being in real estate, but they don't want to do all the other stuff behind it. But you can certainly do that at volume. There's lots of services now for every element of it. You can pick how you like to interact with the real estate business.
Damn, I love that. Nick, give us some thoughts on this.
I think there's tremendous opportunity in your life is a mirror of yourself. Okay. So whatever you are personally, let's take real estate aside, let's take business aside, whatever you're personally passionate about, you can build an outstanding business with other people who are passionate about the same thing.
Yes.
So when we talk about like different channels, like Dean talks about channels, and I was giving the example earlier about agents want to be all things to all people. You're much better off. And Greg, we've talked about this ad nauseum on this show for years about your digital farm and picking a community and just being consistent with it. It's kind of the same thing. And you guys, somebody mentioned on the comments about my background, right? So if somebody looks at me and they're watching this show and they know that, okay, he likes to play golf, he's got some power tools, he's got a baseball glove. So like you kind of get a sense of knowing me and what I like, the things that I like, and you might reach out to me because of that. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing for business, right? If you can speak to people that are like you get that instant trust factor. And if you lean on that, like what Dean was talking about, whatever you're good at, if it's networking, if it's video, if it's audio, if it's written, there's all these different vehicles that you then implement these things into, and then that's your target, and that's what you go into. Mm-hmm. The one thing as far as a piece of advice would be, don't try to be all things. Be honest with yourself. What are you really good at? What do you like in your life that you can talk about ad nauseum, write ad nauseum, talk about ad nauseum, or shoot a video ad nauseum without even thinking about it, and then build your business around that, because that's going to be the easiest path. And trust me, there's thousands, if not millions of other people that are just like you that would like to relate to you. And then also, oh yeah, that guy happens to sell real estate. I'd like to do business with him.
Dude, awesome. Good stuff. Gentlemen, we're going to wrap this thing up in about 5 minutes, but I want to give some time for everyone to kind of talk a little bit about what you guys are up to. Dean, what are some of the things that you're up to right now? Are you putting out some more books, or courses that you're running?
Yeah, I've put all these things into what I am calling this philosophy of the listing agent lifestyle. That's what I'm really about, helping people live. And that's really about, getting, if you're going to have a listing centric business, you've got to have a system for getting listings. You've got to have a system for multiplying those listings. We didn't really talk about that, but every listing that you take comes with an opportunity to get at least 5 transactions from that. And if we measure it and look at it, most people are probably getting 1 or maybe 1.5 if you take it over a period of time. And so when we look at their listing multiplier index, we call it as a metric. The people that we're working with that focus on that, their listing multiplier index overall is over 3.5, meaning how much of a difference would it make in your business if every listing you take turns into 3.5 transactions instead of 1? You got to have a way to get referrals from the people who know you, like you, and trust you. And so we measure your return on relationship. Everybody knows 150 people. These are the people that if you saw them at the grocery store, you'd recognize them by name, you'd stop and have a conversation with them. What we're looking to do is manage that relationship portfolio for a 20% annual yield. I mean, we should be able to generate 30 transactions from that group of 150 people by orchestrating referrals, not just waiting for them to come passively. Then you've got to have a way to convert leads. And, I think the biggest shift that people can make in their mind is shifting their approach to advertising away from an expense-based approach model where they're running the ads today. They're hoping, pounding on the phones to get in touch with them right away, get them an appointment, sell them a house. And then if they don't do that, then they're bad leads. But taking a capital investment approach and identifying future people who are going to sell their house or future people who are going to buy a home and looking at the asset you're creating for that capital investment. Let's say you invest $5,000 in a capital investment of generating 1,500 leads of people who are going to buy at some point, and then nurture that for a yield. You've got an asset now that's going to continue to throw off buyers all the time. There's only 2 time frames. It's now or not now. And no more trying to time when people are. Just do everything as if it's now for people. And when it is now, we give them an opportunity to know what to do, by branding yourself in that mindset. And we got to have a way to find buyers. That's really the 5 sort of business elements of the listing agent lifestyle. And then we balance it with the focus on the lifestyle things of daily joy, abundant time, and financial peace. So all about those 8 things. I do a podcast called Listing Agent Lifestyle on iTunes. And each week we talk about a different realtor. We go through that process of building a listing agent lifestyle plan.
I love it. And so you have more than one podcast. You have a listing agent lifestyle, and then you also have a I Love Marketing, right?
I do. We've got I have a podcast with Dan Sullivan called Welcome to Cloudlandia, all about this migration that we're making from the mainland into 100% living in the cloud. I mean, these it's much more real in the real world than the mainland right now. It's far more important. Wow. Yeah. We've seen it, Greg. All these Clubhouse people, there's no way that you're going to tell me that you don't have a real relationship with the people in Clubhouse, even though you've never laid eyes on them. You've never met. We've never met. Like, look at the Clubhouse that we usually hang out in. We've never met Amanda, or you never met William or Andy or any of the regulars in there, but we've got a relationship with them in the cloud, in Cloudlandia. That's an important thing.
Here's the funny thing is it's so true, Dean, because Nick and I have never met. You guys are both in Florida, but I consider him a very close friend. Jake and I just met. He lives in Reno. I don't know where that came out of. Reno. And I went up and visited him about a month ago about now. So he and I have met once. Matt and I, who unfortunately can't make it, he and I have been podcasting together for 6 years, and we've met 5 times maybe. Yeah, Gene. Bowlby, our bald ninja. Never met him. He's in Philly.
Yeah, it's so true. Is a real thing.
It is a true thing. It really is a real thing. COVID has kind of pushed that forward quite a bit, just because the forced separations. But guys, anyone on this panel right now, I know we're going to wrap it up here in a minute, but is it a bad thing to have digital friends, or is it better to get face to face, or is at this point in life, does it really friggin' matter? Anyone can take that. Dean, I'm going to go to you, and then I'm going to go to Nick. Nick's shaking his head right now.
I don't think it matters. They're real. I mean, these are real relationships,
Yeah. Nick, you were shaking your head. Go to you.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to be said for video communication, right? And I think now that it's really mainstream, I think Zoom is now the Kleenex of video communication, Facebook Live, and we've gotten to the stage. We've talked about this before too, about doing video to get people to know, like, and trust you. And it's so easy to create those relationships now that it's almost like, if you're not doing that, then what's wrong with you, or what are you hiding? So it's like it's not an option, because now if you're holding it too close to the chest, then you're hiding something, and it's not that you're not trustworthy, right? So you have to. And I'm a very introverted person. I promise. I talk to everybody all the time about, I would not live as loud as I do online if it wasn't for business. Right. If I didn't own businesses, like, I would be barely on Facebook. It's just not, but I am online, because you have to be visible, because you have to create those relationships. And I think it's just as powerful. Like Greg said, I do consider him to be a very close friend. We've never shaken hands, but we've been talking on video for 5 years.
Yeah. Something like that.
We'll find that with our I Love Marketing audience. Listen, I go all over the world. I go do events in London, Amsterdam, Sydney, Toronto, and we've got, vibrant communities of people that are all, we've all met them online, all connected through a podcast,
Yeah, it's a powerful thing. Podcasting is a powerful, powerful thing. You should never discount it at all. Jake, give me your thoughts on this, and then we're going to do our final round of where everyone can get a hold of each other, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so we have to evolve, ladies and gentlemen. Technology is, you just look back at the last 20 years. Look at all the big dramatic changes that we've come through. A lot of people that are watching right now in the audience, you guys are just like me, where I remember when I got my first cell phone, and that wasn't that damn long ago, right? So as technology changes and it starts to compound on itself, we're going to go through a lot of changes moving forward. So last year, and the whole lockdown and everything else, it's pushed people in. The kiddos are all doing distance learning through online means and things like that.
Yeah,
you just have to evolve. And Dino, I love everything that you went ahead and said. You're preaching the truth about marketing. And to be honest with you, when you say you have to have a system, you have to have these different tools in play.
Yeah,
that's the reason I'm in the real estate industry.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, it wasn't even on the radar, but after I went ahead and looked in, knowing all the things that I do in marketing, it literally is cleverly does that support system, and we are the most powerful listing system in the real estate. So
that's awesome. I'd love to connect with you and see what you've got going on.
Yeah,
I'm all about getting listings. That's a big thing.
Yeah, it's important. We use likely artificial intelligence very strong, and Greg's got
that's important to remember. I would talk about this all the time. Everybody's looking at real estate as a fat cat ready for disruption, which it is, but you got to realize that where it's ripe for disruption is when we talk about the bankable results of leads, appointments, contracts, closings. Where it's ripe for disruption is in leads and getting appointments, where the 100% thing that saves the realtor in the real estate thing is that you can't digitize the last 100 feet of a real estate transaction. It's always unique. You can't algorithm it. You're dealing with at least two completely irrational people about the emotional involvement in this home of theirs, in the market value of it in today's market right now. There's so much that goes into that. It's more psychology than algorithms,
It is.
Last night I had dinner with the owner of the largest EXP team in Nevada, and he spends about $60,000 a month in paid advertising, and he can justify it. So he's at that level. One of the things that I've seen, Dean. So last week we brought up an article that said there's more real estate agents in the United States of America than there are listings.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny to go ahead and see. And I've talked to thousands of real estate agents over the last year or so, and there's a lot of disruption that's coming into this industry. We've got more new people coming in. A lot of folks were displaced by COVID, right? And now they're looking at real estate as a backup. Hey, if I'm a licensed realtor, I'm still going to have a part-time job over here. If I go ahead and get lucky and I go ahead and throw $10,000 or $15,000 of commission in my back pocket, great, put it in the bank. And then we got a whole bunch of young people who know how to do this thing called social media better than a lot of other folks, and they're just going to be disruptors. They're creating noise. So if you don't have a good brand, good sound system, and if you're not taking the actionable steps necessary, you can have other competing forces that are working against you.
It's all very exciting.
It is. It is, gentlemen. All right, Dean, let's go over to you. Tell us a little bit more about where they can reach out to you again. I hope I got this right. I mean, is this the right graphic? Because I want to make sure it is. This is just as your podcast, right?
That's a great podcast. I love marketing for all kinds of businesses. I mean, we've got Richard Branson on there, Tony Robbins, every big people on this one. That's our marketing brand. So it's for all entrepreneurs. The one that I do for real estate specific is called the Listing Agent Lifestyle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And how can people reach out to you and get a hold of you? Is it just follow you? Or is
sure. Go there. DeanJackson.com. It's kind of where everything that I do is, and all the tools and things that I'm doing for realtors are at gogoagent.com.
gogoagent.com. Roger, love that. Nick, you are with Amplified Marketing, a fantastic organization out of Florida. Tell us a little bit about you, your organization, how they can get a hold of you, and what your perfect client is.
Yeah, guys. So get Amplified Marketing. We talk a lot about lead generation converted to appointments. We actually book appointments for you. But the second tier of that, because you guys know I'm all about video and social media, is helping you strategize and get your message concise and how to implement that through all the different social channels, mainly Facebook and Instagram, but also YouTube as well. So I love more followers on social media. So you can find me Nick Sakis or at Nick Sakis Marketing. And if you'd like to book an appointment and have a chat with me, go to getamplifiedmarketing.com.
Nice. Love it. Jake the Wolf, we have a giant semi here. We got amazing things with Clever Leads rolling out hard. So we got some good stuff going. How can they get a hold of you and learn about these semis and what you're putting out there for everybody?
Yeah, come on over to cleverleads.com, enter your information. We can go ahead and reach out to you guys and dress you for the success party. Also, you're not going to want to go ahead and miss my private Facebook group where we drop extreme knowledge and get you set up for all those competing forces on the line. So
nice.
Looking forward to meeting everybody.
Nice, guys. And last but not least, guys, thank you for watching the show. I truly appreciate it. We are a part of EXP. We'll never hide that. We are looking to hire folks onto the team. We have exclusives. When you join us on our team, we have an opportunity for a trucking option for you, which, by the way, is insanely incredible when it comes to lead conversion. I just did it yesterday for the first time because we're just rolling this out, and it was hook, line, and sinker. The thing was done in the bag. So if you guys want to learn how to do that, we're not going to build the biggest team. We're going to build the most profitable downline in all of EXP because we guarantee we're going to put you guys on the map. So Nick and Jake, I need you guys to pick a color for the show, put it for the bow for the show. So Nick, what's your color?
I'm going black.
Black. Okay. Jake.
I'm coming the gold side. Black and gold.
Black and gold. Black. Isn't that a song? Black and gold. Black and gold. Never mind.
Black and yellow.
Black and yellow. Okay. I'm like, that didn't sound right. It didn't sound right. All right, guys, thanks for watching the show. We truly appreciate you. We have a black and a gold bow on this show. We cannot do this show without you. Please go out there and make sure you guys give us a 5-star, not a 2-star review on every podcast place that you guys listen to our show. Make sure you shout out Dean Jackson. The guy's a legend, a myth, and the man of all sorts and fashions of marketing. Reach out, get a hold of him, follow him, stalk him, offer to wash his car, feed his dogs. I mean, now we're talking, right?
Now we're talking.
But guys, we love you to pieces. Yeah, we love you to pieces. Thank you so much. Until next time, peace out, ninjas. We go.